Welcome to the Virtually Speaking podcast. My name is Pete Fletcher, and joining me on this continuing coverage of the advanced services for VCF is my good friend, Mr. John Nicholson. John, how you doing, buddy?
Good. I think I've got the automation just perfect. I've got the blinds automated. I've got the lights automated. I think I have reached automation nirvana. But I'm
Is it voice activated? How do you automate it? Do you just do like a what do you do?
Yeah, it's mostly the real secret behind all AI or heavy automation. Let's be honest, is just a bunch of ugly Perl or something. But no, I've endless batch processes. Just slogging through it. But
so it's not just the clap
easy.
on. Yes.
You got to put lipstick on it. You got to make the back office, that is this this office hum and automate. So we're trying to get
your literal back office. I love it. Yeah. So as I mentioned, right, we're still on this awesome series covering all the advanced services for VCF. There's quite a few of them. Some of them, many of the VMware customers are probably pretty familiar with. They have probably already been using some of these in some form or fashion. But other of those, you may only know outside of VCF, or you may never even heard of. So this is an interesting one. We're going to be talking about Automic Automations. We're not alone, thankfully. We are joined by a new friend of the podcast, Mr. And I want to talk all about your Iron Man, but Mr. Dave Kellermanns. Dave, welcome.
Thank you, guys. And I love the automation part, as some of your listeners and watchers can probably relate to. Home automation, big thing. The one that my wife loves, she hates everything else, to be blunt. The one she loves is I figured out how to have the 5-volt relay to automate the fireplace. Because I live in Colorado, have lived there since 2005. And, there's these cold nights where you're both bundled up and no one wants to get up to turn the damn fireplace on. Pardon my French here. And I figured out how to do it. And she goes, you know what? All the lights, all the garage door, don't care. But that fireplace, that's genius.
That's the one.
My wife's automation on that was kicking me out of the bed this morning to go turn the thermostats up. So it's much more low tech.
Yeah, that is pretty low tech. So Dave, I want to talk about Automic Automations. Before we do, really quickly, you got a wall of medals behind you. What are we looking at behind you there?
We're looking at, I call them affectionately the participation trophies. I used to be a big guy. In 2008, a friend said, I'm going to do an Ironman. What did I know? I knew the one in Hawaii. I think I'm going to Hawaii. This is going to be awesome. Ended up in Madison, Wisconsin, fell in love with the sport on the lake there. And then, once you get hooked, like so many things, ended up doing enough to become what's called a legacy athlete. When you've done 12 or more, you can actually go to the World Championships. So I've actually been to Hawaii as an athlete and competed at that level. So yeah, that's what I keep busy when I'm not working for Broadcom and with the VMware teams as part of the Agile operations division that I work in.
Very nice. Very nice. I like it. So yeah, you can't automate that. That's nothing but manual work at that point, right? I mean,
no, I mean, I've got the pieces down. Like I have goggles that count how many laps I swim, so I don't need to think about it. But yeah, it's still, you have to ride the bike yourself and to have to run yourself. But that's okay. You know what? You have to have more than one passion in life, and automation is certainly the big one for me now. Nearing my 27th year in automation, and over the last years, I think the interesting part has been everyone says automation, just like John started, and when the VMware customers think about automation, they probably think VCF automation, or
sure.
And when I say automation, I think of a completely different thing, right? So I think about business processes like payroll or order to cash or stuff like that. And it's interesting because we all say the same word, and yet sometimes you have to first clarify context in order to get on the same page.
Oh yeah,
and that's it's a good challenge, right?
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, for most VI admins, I would imagine their first dip into some form of automation. John, you agree? Would probably be like PowerShell or like Power CLI, automating simple tasks.
a little batch script or something, and then moving forward into higher level infrastructure automation. But um, it was interesting though, because I did spend time around, people who worked on ERP systems and the various mainframers and the databases, and they always had like their own automation conversations at lunch. And I never fully understood what all they were talking about, but it did sound like they were into automation before it was cool.
Well,
Yeah.
it's one of those things, right? You try to make your job as easy as you can. And I remember when I started as a junior trainer. I studied economics, but somehow took a different path. Mom wasn't too happy. And I always said the goal is to have 50 weeks of vacation, and the 2 other weeks you're maintaining your calendars. Now we've over the years we've figured out the calendar problem as well, but that's the Nirvana dream. If you automate it, I think these days it's more when you have it automated, and I think we've all been in fire drills, whether we wanted to or not. If it's automated, that's one less thing to worry about while you're in a fire drill.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and I want to get into some of the specifics around what automation currently exists in VCF and all that. But before I put the cart before the horse, why don't we start with the very basic question? For listeners that may never have heard of Automic Automation, what exactly is that in the context of a VCF environment?
So, in a VCF environment, VCF is amazing and world class at infrastructure automation, right? And the way I've always said it is, you are great at providing infrastructure at speed of light, and as long as things work within their limits, that's pretty much it, right? And I don't mean this disrespectful. We couldn't care less about infrastructure. As long as it's there and it works, we're happy. We care about the business process. So for us, automation really is the scripts that John mentioned, whether it's JCL on the mainframe or jobs on an AS400 or ERP tasks like an ABAP report, or in the newer world, an SAP application job. Those are things that exist at all of our customers. Every Broadcom customer has them because you have payroll where you need infrastructure and business process. And in a lot of cases, it's basically they all have their silos. It's like that lunch discussion. You join the mainframers on the one day and they speak JCL, and then you join the SAP team on the next day and they speak ABAP. And that's the world I live in. Is they're all silos. They've all got their stuff covered. And to bring it maybe a little closer to your typical VMware listeners, right? You have the infrastructure and you have your automation there. And then you have the firewall team. And if you go to meet them at lunch, they go, oh, yeah, we have Python scripts to do all the firewall orchestration. And then you meet, the network people or the database people, and they have their scripts, and they might be PowerShell scripts or Unix scripts or what have you, right? And so everyone has figured out their piece of the puzzle. And what we have lived in forever is really being able to automate across that. So being able to take what you get in VCF and make it a business outcome. Because you brought up the slide, the customers that provision infrastructure in their VCF world, they don't do that because they're bored on a Friday afternoon, right? They do that because someone in the business said, I need a server, and I need it to be with these specs and this much of memory and this much of disk. And if you're lucky, they tell you what they plan to do with the server so you can tweak settings. And then, you go back into, the incident ticketing CMDB system and said, yep, done my job. Server is ready. Here's your IP. Here's your login. Here's your everything. And then we look at it from the green little tip top piece there, where it's like, that's what the business really wants, and there's a gap between that. And that's where Automic Automation really plays, is in that gap, because to achieve that business outcome, that's where we have a ton of integrations, and we can run the Brittle Python scripts and provide versioning around them and all kinds of ways, pass parameters.
Like an orchestrator of orchestration workflows.
Yeah, I think that's a really good description. Is if there is a gap, we can fill that. But in a lot of cases, IT hasn't been around since yesterday, right? So they have something already, whether it is SaltStack, Ansible, Puppet, Chef. I'm probably forgetting some, so getting
Terraform,
sponsored
bingo.
by one of them, mention them, right? But all of those need to be somehow orchestrated in the bigger picture, and that's where we see Automic Automation playing. And you mentioned some of your customers running SAP. I mean, I think the statistic is like 70% of SAP customers are actually running on VCF infrastructure.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of common customers where we've been in the same building, we've been in the same data center. It's just we have different paths when we come in because infrastructure and ops are typically not in the same area.
So I'm the guy who creates the VM that's called HANA, and I thought that was a person's name, and you're the person who's actually running the end of quarter or building out the clone of the ERP
Yep.
or so forth. So
Yep. Not sure if I can officially say this, but we run Broadcom's payroll every 2 weeks on VCF infrastructure.
yeah.
So, it's we all meet, and as long as we both do our job, everyone at Broadcom is happy.
Yeah, yeah. We're in the
I
business
think
of
I have
asking
got to
for
pay it on time
forgiveness.
consistently, which is my minimal viable. So I was going to ask, what are some of these processes beyond payroll that runs? Like, what are we? I hear the
Mhm.
accounting dweebs talk about end of quarter and end of fiscal.
Mhm.
I've always seen anybody who's working on ERP is always trying to make dev environments or clones and things. Like, what are some of the things that we would do, and what does that process look like, and who's initiating it, who's clicking that button, so to speak?
Right. So typically, let's start with the last one. That's typically operations, business users, depending how far the company is along enabling the business users to start processes. And if you look at it, in 27 years, I've seen everything, right? SAP, you want to refresh data from production systems so that developers have real data, and that makes better programs. And that holds true for pretty much any app if you think about it. And so the issue in SAP specifically is you copying your configuration data as well. So that printer that in production sits in a warehouse creates a pick list, someone takes it and picks it up. Well, if you don't change that back to the printer on your desk, unless the firewall guy was really good, you printing out in the warehouse and someone is running around the shelves. So those are things where we have a templated workflow to do these. You also see today the world of private AI, right? So you have a ton of data that's hidden across the enterprise, and some of them are easy to access, right? So if you think like Oracle, SQL Server, Postgres, fairly mundane, but you might have a DB2 on an AS400 or a proprietary mainframe database, or in the mainframe, it might be a set of files that you need to consume. Those we see also a need for automation to grab that information and feed it, if nothing else, in one of the VCF S3 buckets so that private AI can go and pick it up, run it through RAG, and enhance the customer's LLM, for example. So
Okay.
I think there's not a specific use case, and that's why I've been here that long because, I mean, we went through SOAP, we went through big data, we went through all these things, and every time we did that, it was like, oh yeah, automation is dead. Well, it's like the mainframe, right? I mean, that was dead in '99, and then
I'm not
later.
betting against mainframes. Like I think I saw some chart where IBM had like on a bad day a -1% CAGR. I'm like, well, you could start learning that now, and based on the $40 billion of that market, still retire. Coming fresh out of school. So, but these processes are interesting because it's and this is anytime you talk about an automation process, it always feels like when you're trying to talk to someone who works with it, it's impossible to get pinned down on one use case, and it's always like, hey, what do you want to do? What are the problems? Where are you wasting
Mhm.
time? Where is the CFO angry they're not getting data quick enough?
Yeah.
We can make jokes about building actionable dashboards, and things like that, but actually finding really finding that process in the bank or that institution where currently there's one guy in an Excel spreadsheet, he's mainly copying something every week, and okay, let's put that on, on cruise controls. It sounds like this is, been around for quite a while, but it continues to evolve as the business will come up with an infinite amount of manual processes and data isolation that needs to be solved. And
Yeah. And I think part of it is, when we talk to the analysts, right? They want to see that shiny unicorn, that amazing use case that, if you talk to our customers, happens once a year if you're lucky. And yes, it is a pain in the butt, but it happens once a year, right? Automation is really when you look at things that happen hundreds of times a week or 10 times a day, and maybe it only takes 5 minutes. Go to the Linux server, log on with SSH, clean out the temp
TFTP that
drive, whatever it
file.
might be,
Yeah.
right? It's that's the problem, right? It happens a lot, happens on different servers. You might have forgotten the password. Fire drill happens. Suddenly you pulled in 15 directions. You forget to clean out the temp drive. You might auto grow it. Now the drive's bigger.
You go on vacation.
So
you go on vacation, and there's no one to run it. And people feel that that's job security, but it's not job security. It means
No,
you never get
it's not.
promoted. It means you're stuck in being the guy who moves that CSV around. It's not a good place.
You're also the 4 a.m. guy because no one else. You don't know who to call.
Somebody's calling you right now, actually.
Someone is calling me right
It's
now.
4 a.m.
I hate to say it. Very important. It's actually my wife. So you can't script these things.
No.
We'll see. She might call back. The rule is if I press her away and she calls back, then you guys lose.
Yes, absolutely. As it should be. As it should be.
As it should be. But yeah, I think that's part of the equation is when you look at your daily workload, what are the things that hold you up? And like in ticketing, I always say a level 1 ticket is one you know the answer to. You just haven't gotten around to automate it yet, right? So if you think of like Tenzu Data Intelligence, there's just a ton of administrative day-to-day housekeeping tasks that you basically deliver to the customer and say, here you go, good luck.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's something you could sit down and say, you know what, I already know what to do. I just put it into automation, and then maybe even have it event driven, that if A happens, run this. And then if for whatever reason it doesn't resolve it, then go and assign a ticket to an actual human and say, I've tried what I know about, and now it's something I don't know what to do with. Right?
See,
So
this is interesting.
That's, I think, the power.
This is interesting because I had always thought about these automation toolings and operations toolings as the value is in that, like that. Okay, you bring that one highly packaged 80-step, Rube Goldberg machine problem that you automate. But in reality, talking to you, you've basically flipped my thinking to think it's about all those level 1 tickets that you're opening that are the only thing standing between you and the whole workflow being automated, but are causing infinite amounts of friction because of how many times they happen, and just going after those instead of starting with the end state, start with the easy, obnoxious, small problem state is really
table stakes.
The higher value play of automation.
The math is we spend 80% of the time keeping the lights on. So if you only have 20% on innovation, and then you get a world of AI, LLM, MCPs, and all these words are thrown around. And I was listening to a Gartner webinar last week. We're starting to go down from the hype cycle, right? So everyone is trying to
disillusionment's coming. And join me in the pit of despair.
But that's the thing, right? If you only have 20% of time to spend in that world, for example, to catch up, that's not a lot. And that's where I've always said, don't pick that unicorn. Pick the thing that just bugs you, that keeps you awake in the evening, that is happening 100 times a day. And if you get 2 minutes back, that's sizable at the end of the week. And we have
you don't have to train someone else on that 2-minute process because it's automated. That's the other challenge. It's not. It may be easy for you to do it. You do it in 2 minutes. Someone else, it would take it would take 2 hours until you train them. And there's this whole like training of the exception cases and just automate. You avoid having to do the knowledge transfer.
Yeah, and that's what I've always said in demos, right? When we meet new customers, uh, they look at it and go, "Whoa!" And I said, "Well, I do have 27 years of head start knowing where to click." Right?
It's a good start. Well, it's, most VMware customers are certainly not unaware of the value of automation, particularly when you have large environments that need to be able to scale in a repeated fashion. It's kind of why there's VCF automation to a certain extent. You don't want to sit there and one-off these things. But it begs the question, and I think we've already answered the question as we started to discuss some of these use cases, but for the benefit of the audience that may be just hearing this for the first time, maybe we can walk through some of the basic differences between what you might see in VCF automation versus what we see here in Automic Automation, and then see how they complement each other.
Right. So I think that's why when we started, I said automation means so many different things with so many different people. So in VCF automation, it's about infrastructure, right? You have a very different Magic Quadrant. You have the distributed hybrid infrastructure Magic Quadrant, and it's about providing infrastructure, measuring performance, making sure they're right sized, they're on the right system, that the configuration is good. And to a degree, depending what your template stack looks like, putting an application on there. And we would say day one operations, right? So server's ready, good, hand it off, done with. We care a lot about the business process. So if you would ask me what infrastructure Broadcom Oracle is running on, I would know. I would be, as long as I get the right response times, I'm fine. As long as the IP route is open to that SAP system or that S3 bucket, I'm fine, right? Because we care about processes, banking and financials. Energy providers use us to orchestrate the smart meter data pipeline, like one of the largest energy companies in the US is using it to process the smart meters into SAP, for example, and things like that. Where we meet much, much closer, I think, is that day two operation. So once the server is provisioned, how do I change files on there? How do I create structures on there? And yes, there's tools for that, like Ansible. And even there, we have customers that run 40,000 playbooks a day over 13 towers. And they said, we can't orchestrate across that. We have playbooks that need to pass data between them. Sometimes it crosses the towers, and we just don't have that visibility across them. And so we help them with that. And so we are actually looking at Gartner's Magic Quadrant for SOAP, not the old SOAP. This one is service orchestration and automation platforms. And so that's when I always say, when we go in the same building, you turn left to infrastructure and we turn right into ops. But at the end of the day, between infrastructure and application, we're trying to provide the business outcome that for our customers generate that value, that whatever their value definition is, whether it's customer service or billing or whatever. And John, just for your house, one of our engineers actually runs the whole home automation through Automic. And I think he's somewhere south of 700,000 sensor readings, automation tasks a day.
Okay, I'm gonna have to see if he's got a Lutron plug-in for my smart dimmers here. So,
yeah, I live by the smart dimmers for sure in my house. Yeah, they do everything from light the Christmas tree to tell me it's time to go to bed. All the things.
That's how I got the U lights in the house to tell because we had a beautiful lamp, but there wasn't a dimmer. I was like, with U lights, we could dim them. And she was like, "Oh, we can." And then 2 minutes later, I have everything installed. I give her the app, and not only did she find the dimmer switch, she also found the color selector.
Oh, now she's going to be busy for a while.
in a nightclub for the next hour.
I like that. I like that. So, in the world of VCF and obviously many other softwares, we live by the cadence of our releases, and whatever cycle we're in, this product here, Automic Automation, it aligns with VCF in the sense that, from what I've been told, is as long as you're on VCF 9, and this is an advanced service that's available to you. What does it mean in terms of integration? Is it, like, I know this is a separate product that has been working for many years, obviously without VCF, but is there anything that we need to know, thinking about VCF specific, if I wanted to take advantage of this, or is it just a matter of, hey, I'm VCF and just start playing over here?
It is literally as simple as that. So we've actually played with VCF and VMware way before. I remember going out to Palo Alto in, I think, 2012 to VMware Labs at the time and building prototypes on automatic infrastructure provisioning with SAP together in a way, because it had OS type orchestration. So we actually have a marketplace that our customers can go to, and they can say, hey, I need an integration for ServiceNow. I need an integration for Oracle Fusion Cloud, SAP, you name it. Or I need an integration for VMware. Hyperscalers, all of it, hundreds of integrations. So when they want to play with it, they basically can contact the friendly account managers. We can be deployed as SaaS solution. That would be the easiest way. And then you download from the marketplace what you need. We also can be deployed as Kubernetes edition. And then we also have the traditional old-fashioned on-premise stack that would run on Windows, Linux, a variety of Unixes when customers really want to host it on their own. I think that's a trend we're starting to see to go away, is they more in Kubernetes because of the nice infrastructure. If I need resilience, I just change the replica set and ta-da, VCF, VKS would do all the load balance and everything, and I don't have to learn, F5 and persistent sessions and all that. And same when a process would go down, Kubernetes would simply spin up another one. So that's actually, I think, the future for someone that wants to host on premises.
What's the scale of resource requirement we're typically seeing, like from a small entry level to larger? Is it just depend on how much automation you're firing off, or is there?
Yeah, I mean, I used to joke that you can run it on your laptop. You still can. Like, my laptop runs about 500,000 jobs. From a redundancy perspective, while it has a battery, it's probably not the safest choice. But most commodity hardware is good. If you start to scale into the millions, obviously those are different requirements. Then, memory and CPUs are important. We redesigned the software many, many, many years ago to actually have individual processes. Because in the old days, it used to be one giant monolithic binary and you run it, and then, that's good, but it runs on one CPU. That doesn't, in the old days, that was fine. But then, we got the cores and all that, and how many V cores do you want? And so now you can actually partition it logically and say, I need 3 REST endpoints because I have that many REST workload. And I need this much memory for the database server. And so that's actually now so much easier. And especially as you grow, I think you realizing more value. And then with VCF, it's super easy to say, I need to give it more memory, or I need to give it more cores, or my database is growing. Because we do keep an audit trail of everything that's going on. So when you change an object, so remember you said that Python script, and I make a change to it, not saying that any one of our customers ever had that problem, but that job that ran great for the last 10 years, last night it failed. And when they asked, like, who made a change to a job? No one did, right? Well, we have an audit trail. We can also roll back that change, but that's obviously all database related. And then in the same take, we usually capture what is considered standard out, standard error, just job logs, REST output. So we also keep that so that you have an audit trail when someone says, how was this database the data extracted, or things like that.
Okay. is that just local UIs, or can I output that to syslog or something else? Or
Um, you could output it to syslog. You could put it into any other software, or just put it on like a low cost storage, for example. Like some of our finance customers, and I'm sure VCF has the same requirement. You need to keep stuff for 10 years, right? That's going
okay,
to
yeah, I'll dump that into the S3 bucket that time forgot. So that'll
Yeah.
work.
You mentioned AI earlier. I would I would imagine that that this could be pretty useful. If you've got folks that are using VMware Private AI Foundation and starting to implement some automation into their workflows. Have you seen people doing that, or is that something that's common that folks are doing, automating some of those workflows inside of AI?
Yeah. So there's actually two sides the way I look at it to AI. One is picking up the users, right? So showing a mainframe job and asking AI, hey, what does this job do? Or I have a Python script, have AI explain to me what the script does, things like that. We also are in the release that's coming out. We are putting in AI to help you design your workflows and your jobs. So it walks you through that. So I think one side of it is user enablement, and then the other side is the data flows. And we are releasing with the next release an MCP server so that you can actually consume automation as advertised by the MCP server. And then behind that, you can put all your data pipelines and data flows to make it work.
Very nice, Dave. All right, so last question for you, and then we can end with any closing thoughts by yourself or John. But for folks that are interested in learning more about Automic Automation, is there an easy place to go? How do people learn more about this? Should they just talk to their TAMs? What's the best way to get more information?
There is an automation academy. I'm assuming, just like any good podcast, you'll have it in the show notes below later on. There's also your account managers that you can talk to, and there's a whole team of us in the background. I have just the most photogenic face, I think. Just kidding. Don't want to step on any colleagues' feet here. And basically, we're more than happy to give you a tour, lay of the land, and look at what you specifically are struggling with. Because chances are, with all the customers we've seen over the years, we've seen similar use cases and can say, you know what, this is what we can do for you, and this is where we can help you move the needle.
I like it. I like it. John, any closing thoughts before we let this man go?
No, I think I'm gonna, I think first off, I need to start running some more serious ERPs in my house. So I'm gonna start figuring out how I'm gonna get SAP to do and get some event and batch scheduling. Like, we're finally gonna really nail down the kids' activity schedule, I think, this year. And
Yeah,
we're
you
gonna
can call your friend Hannah.
Yeah, there we go. I'll call my friend Hannah for it. It'll be fun.
Very nice, very nice. Well, Dave, this has been awesome. We're really excited walking through this whole series on advanced services. I love learning about the new ones. This was a new one for me. Certainly not a new topic, but a new way of looking at it in a different lens. And so appreciate your help in joining us this week.
Oh, you're very, very welcome.